All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents or the Arcane Alienist, because we actually don't know where we're going to post this yet. But I'm here with BJ
It's
Boyd.
the GM Alienist Arcane, the Arcane GM Alienist presents.
There we go. The Arcane Geomologist Alienist Presents, or the Alien Geomologist.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's my pleasure to have BJ Boyd join me
Hello.
to discuss I think is a very cool game. It's one of the few RPG. I get very distracted when I start reading an RPG book and put it down and only go back to it if I need to find rules. And really, you should probably read the whole book. I guess I'm giving away geomologist secrets, or not quirks. What is it called? Geomologist flaws.
Trade secrets.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to talk today about the Multiverse role playing game that just came out. Yep, it's a beautiful book. I think so. The cover art is by Iban Coelho and Jesus Aburtov. That's probably not Aburtov. I pronounced that his a Slavic name in Spanish. But it's a writer designed by Matt Forbeck. And Matt Forbeck has been writing role playing games for a very long time. I even saw him. I was looking through some of my Forgotten Realms 3.0 book, and he has writing credit there on that book. And he's done a lot of other things. The producer and project lead is Carlos Cervantes Jr., the editor, Brian Overton, and then we have an assistant producer, Amir Osman. So a big team with Matt Forbeck as the main writer designer in this book. And they came out controversially, I would say, and maybe BJ can talk about it in his opinion. They came out with like a playtest book, and we got to play that. I think we posted that actual play and character creation on either Cerebrivore or Nerds RPG Variety Cast with
I think it was
Jason
a
Connerly,
Cerebrivore. Yeah.
right? So that book came out. I still have mine because I thought it was cool that they had different versions of it. Yeah, I still have mine, and mine has the Scarlet Witch on the cover. So what did you think? I mean, it's a very short book, and it was only, I mean, it wasn't just $9.99.
Yeah.
And then they had the same thing, like a preview on Roll20 for about that
Mhm.
price too. So I don't think it was a big investment to check out a game, and I thought we really had fun with it.
Yeah.
What do you think? But the controversy, of course, is having people play or pay for a beta test.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the big stink. It's just not typical. And what I kind of thought was this is Marvel publishing a role playing game themselves instead of licensing it to a game company or a game designer. So I kind of maybe chalk that up to a little bit of kind of a rookie mistake that and I don't know how much their target audience is role players who want to get into a Marvel role playing game versus it is Marvel fans who they would like to give a new way to engage with Marvel,
Right.
properties. So, um, the playtest document was pretty high quality. It was published with the same quality they publish like a graphic novel or a
Graphic novel.
trade paperback with glossy paper um and this book too, even though it's more the size of a typical role playing game book. The pages are sort of comic book quality, glossy
Yeah,
pages.
it's a glossy. Yeah, and just looking at the book, the new book, which is it's actually what $50, which is about $10 to $20 less than your typical gaming book nowadays, and it's just
Yep.
as meaty, and actually it has so much art. I mean that it's impressive. I mean there's artists that you've seen before through the comics. Yeah, I guess it's their property and they've reused some art, but hopefully those. I mean, I'm sure those artists get even some credit for that. But then they have some that are just like fantastic pieces of art by Alex Ross and others. I mean, that I can think of
Yeah.
that are
I
there.
see
And
Greg Land,
yeah,
Alan Davis, who's like a legend,
mhm.
you know,
So yeah, there's some really nice. It's a very nice book. So
Frank Cho.
so I guess the main difference that I can see off the bat is that in the playtest they had 25 ranks of characters, and here they kind of squished that down to 6 ranks and really streamlined, I guess, the ranking system and how they did that. And that's one of the few things or the first things we're going to talk about. And I mean, that makes the tables a lot smaller compared to the playtest. So I think they might have, and of course they expanded a lot of things too. Like, so it's kind of interesting, right? They truncated thing, maybe some like game design and mechanics, simplified, streamlined that, but then they gave you a lot more options, which I think is a cool way to go. So more character options in the main book than, of course, in the playtest. And they've seemed to me, at least on an initial read through, to have streamlined some of the mechanics and how things
Yeah.
are calculated and the like. So I think that's a positive. So they really
Yeah,
took.
I definitely saw an echo of, even though the mechanic is 3d6, it's really, if you've played a d20 game, this makes sense. It's roll your dice, roll high. You've got modifiers based on your skills and abilities. It just makes it's very much in the kind of modern mechanic.
Yeah, hit a target number.
Get a target,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and then there's minuses for situational
yeah,
modifiers to set the target number. Actually, yeah. So you have, for example, I guess we're gonna make a character, but just to the basic mechanic is roll 3d6, add an ability score, and then compare it to the target number. That's it, 3d6, and it gives you a nice bell curve. Although it's a little weighted, right? So we were talking about this, and that's my
yeah,
home group was like fascinated by it because so it's a 3d6 system, but it's called 616, and then your different dice, you'll have like a different color dice, or if you go to you could probably buy the dice somewhere on through the Marvel website, and there's that one dice has two sixes on it, really. So it has a normal
yeah,
six, and then if you roll a one, it'll have an M or the Marvel logo on it, and that also counts as a six, but it's also a critical, so a
yeah.
critical result.
And
So
technically, you're still rolling a one because what that means is you rolled 616, which reflects the mainstream Marvel
right,
universe is universe 616 in the multiverse.
which
I
I
thought,
think is cool. I think
yeah,
it's kitschy, but it's kind of cool.
yeah.
And then
Well,
they have
that's Marvel's thing, kitschy. That probably describes
yeah,
classic
yeah,
Marvel.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's like like after the event, after the end of the first Avengers, they're all sitting in a eating pad thai or having pho, right, at a
Yeah,
restaurant. So I think they're at a Thai restaurant. Anyway, so
shawarma.
huh?
It's shawarma.
Was it shawarma?
Yeah, it's if you blink, you miss it. There's a scene where Iron Man gets like knocked down the street, and he shows him flying past the shawarma restaurant, and then when they wake him up, he's like, "You guys ever had shawarma?"
Oh, that's cool. I thought it was. I don't know. I thought it was. That's cool. So it's a shawarma
Yeah,
restaurant. So they're all having heroes or shawarma.
yeah. I saw it back there a minute ago.
That's funny. Yeah. So I mean, it's very Marvel. It has like this kind of. There's some seriousness, but there's also like a bit of humor, right?
Yeah,
Right. So then the modifiers go from trivial to absurd, and from -6 to +6, challenging being the basic default at 0. So it's kind of neat. There's so many examples in this book, and I do like how the way it's laid out. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. I mean, they give you, and I like
yeah,
Matt. I enjoyed Matt Forbeck's writing, so that I could read this very quickly. And like I said,
yeah.
wasn't distracted, and I didn't really put it down. I read it straight through. So
I think
right,
he does a good job of balancing the need to write for people who maybe have not played a lot of role playing games, so they understand the concept of what's going on without going on too long.
right. Oh,
you know,
definitely. And there's so many examples. I know they use Spider-Man a lot for the
yeah,
example, but they even in the character creation did an example to make a character as well. So I think that's really great. So it's how to play, the core mechanics, and that's the character profile. So they explain what all the things mean on the character, and the core mechanic, like I just described. Then there's the combat, and then it's not until chapter 5 that they talk about creating a character, and then chapter 6 and 7 sort of add to that.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't I kind of like. I would have flipped that. Maybe put combat after the character creation. Uh,
See, I would have normally would have said so too, but I kind of like that because they tell you how the game works,
I,
showing you
I
Spider-Man
see
as an
that point.
example,
Mhm.
and then you kind of get to see how the combat works and how you would use samples of his abilities, and then now it's like, okay, now here's how you might make your own character.
Right. Oh, and I like. I now I see the point of that too, because in thinking about the mechanic, you read how combat works, and then you go to the character creation, like, oh, okay, now I can make a character who's going to be efficient, right? You're going to
Yeah.
realize, oh, okay, resilience is
And
your hit points, your health is based
yeah.
on resilience. So I need some points in resilience when I make my character, right?
To think
So,
about like the
for
D&D player's
example,
handbook,
mhm.
you get description of like hit points and stuff like that in the character, but you don't really armor class and combat and how that works. So you're trying to make a fighter potentially in chapter 1 or 2 of the book when you haven't read the rules on combat. And if for me or you, that's a slam dunk because we played games for decades. But for somebody who's kind of new to the hobby, it can be a little confusing. This I think gives it a little more like, okay, if I've never done this before, I can kind of sit down with a set of dice and a scratch paper, and
Yeah, and that supports your
it seems to flow
idea.
better.
That supports your point or your hypothesis that that maybe this is made for people who are not regular game players, love the Marvel verse, and now,
Yeah,
getting into gameplay or, tabletop role playing games
yeah,
because of their first their interest in the comics, then they get into this. So that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Actually, that actually suggests that, I know a lot of friends of mine who are not in the games but love comics. So maybe this is a good entry point
yeah.
into getting them to do some role playing. And then of
I
course,
mean,
and then for someone like Jason Connerly's sake, we can, after we do this one, then we can introduce them to the old one.
yeah,
The
yeah.
the box, the
The
old
phase rip.
TSR, yeah, the old
Yeah,
Marvel universe one. So yeah, so then that's how you get them
mhm.
into the hobby, is through their hobby
Yeah.
that they like. But I
You
think
use
that's to
Fantasy
your
Flight
point.
Star Wars to get them to D6 Star Wars. You
Yeah,
use
yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's cool. All right. So do you have any other? Oh, so then, like, I just to finish talking about the book. So chapter 8 is like all this character profiles, and there are like about 150 character profiles in this game. I mean,
yeah
there's so
of
many,
of
right?
actual Marvel heroes and villains.
Marvel heroes and villains. So that's the idea, is you can play a Marvel hero or villain, um, and they actually have rules and suggestions on how to play villains, or trying to, if you want to redeem Thanos, for example, and make, as he goes from warlord, destroyer of worlds, to farmer, or Magneto, right? It's a great example
Yeah.
of one hero or a anti-hero, or actually a villain from the beginning. When
Baron
he broke
Zemo.
Baron Zemo, yeah. So yeah, so they really have suggestions on how to do that. That's actually in the later chapters for the Marvel universe, that they have a really beautiful and concise history of the Marvel multiverse, in chapter 9. In chapter 10, all these ideas on how to run a game. They talk about, scope and the omniverse. What how to really. I think it's a lot of really good advice that would only come up in sort of this type of super heroic game. Where you have like people breaking the rules. Everything
Yeah.
from fourth wall, like Deadpool and She-Hulk, to like the different time travel stuff that Doctor Strange, or the multiverse stuff that Doctor Strange manipulates, right? So they
Yeah.
have ways to how to deal with that and maybe incorporate it into your game in a really fun way. So I think it's done really well. So they have an appendix, which is all the power trees, which are greatly expanded from the playtest, a character sheet, and then a glossary index. Yay, they have an index. And the glossary is really great too, because it has all the terminology that they use throughout. So
Yep.
do you have anything else to add about the book? Taking a look at it, or
I
comments
just think
about it?
it's a very visually. I mean, if a comic book company is going to publish their own role playing game directly, you kind of ought to expect this quality of, I think, artwork. It's just a really beautiful book. Time will tell whether it's really a great game. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, but I think it's visually looks good. I like the layout, and I like the chapters are not really long. They're easy to read.
Right.
Like I said, they get to the point. They give you enough detail to kind of orient you to things if you haven't ever played before, but they also don't go on ad nauseum.
Right. The two biggest chapters are all the characters profiles that they give
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
and then the powers, right? So like that
yeah,
so spells, like you would have in a D&D book, right? Spells
yeah,
being usually the biggest. But what I thought was great. So speaking of the art and the impressiveness of the book, so every chapter has like a full page display, and they have a list in either they have a list in the back or in the front somewhere of every artist who's done I mean, every little piece of art has like a tag on who did this. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then they have a
Here's
list of all the artists who did the intro chapter cover art. So I think that's pretty fascinating to
you
me.
got
So,
this interesting. I thought you Alex Ross. It's a spread on page. What page are these? 270 and 271, where they're talking about other universes,
oh right,
and it shows kind of the middle part's kind of, well, you can see it if you like, but
yeah,
it shows like the classic Marvel characters, like Steve Rogers is
yeah.
Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. Um, but then on the other side, facing them, you see like War Machine, Miles Morales, Spider Man, Jane Foster. It's like the second generation Marvel characters facing the original Marvel characters.
Oh yeah, that's really
Kind
cool.
of
I
cool.
think one of my favorite is also an Alex Ross picture, and that's on page 266, and it's the invaders, right? The picture of the
Yeah,
invaders that you can see here, which is really awesome. I like that picture a
yeah,
lot. I like Alex. I've liked Alex Ross's work for a very long time.
yeah.
So it's really I like the book. I really
Did you
do.
ever did you ever read there was a limited series in the 90s called Marvels where he did all the artwork, and
I
it,
did
it
not read that one.
it's mostly Alex, but it's kind of a history of the Marvel universe just told by a photographer, not Peter Parker, another photographer of
Oh
him.
wow.
You know, he's a young cub photographer when the first time the original Human Torch and Namor fight in New York City, and he's got the pictures of it, and then the debut of Captain America, and then when the Fantastic Four emerge in the 60s, and it kind of shows it as though in real time, like he's a kid in the 40s, young man in the 40s, and then up into like the 80s,
Right, right.
like the different ages of generations of Marvel characters, coming into the public eye. It's pretty cool.
All right, so let's get into this character creation. So, for those of you who are following along at home, we are on page 42 and 43, creating a character. It has here the a picture of Tony Stark, messing with the Iron Man suit, and like I wonder if I can give them. So, and then yeah, creating a character. So it really starts out talking about creating a character concept. Are you part of a team? Are you a solo character? So hopefully BJ has thought of a character concept.
I think I'm going to recreate the character we made for the play test. We did a demo where I think was it you and me, or was it
It was you, myself,
was it me?
and Connerly, Jason Connerly.
Or
I've
were
never
you and
talked
I
to
were
you.
playing like one of us was Black Panther. You were Black Panther and I was Captain America. And we
Yeah,
kind
we
of
did like
fought,
a combat set of that, and then we made our own characters.
but we never
I
used
made
them for anything.
I made
Yeah.
Afachalaya Man
Yeah.
and or Chapalaya Man, and you made your character, his name escapes me, and then
I can't remember. Yeah.
Jason made like a Rom
The
clone,
Space Knight. Yeah.
Space Knight. So that was pretty cool. And unfortunately, when they did the upgrade to the playtest, they erased all those characters.
Yeah. In
And I
roll
couldn't get
20.
them back. Yeah,
Yep.
well, roll 20. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, this is a game though. I think because I use that tactile feel of the 3D6.
Yeah.
It could be a fun game to just zoom and go. You have your character sheet, zoom and go, and
Yeah.
tell a narrative kind of comic book type tale. The roll 20 has all the tokens and the maps and stuff like that. So all the big shiny, but I think it definitely is conducive. And Matt Phobeck talks about that in the Matt Forbeck, sorry, I keep saying Phobeck, I forgot the R. Matt Forbeck keeps talking about that theater of the mind versus you could go from theater of the mind all the way to your latest greatest tabletop.
Yeah.
And
And he mentions
it's
in
still a great
there
experience.
that they do have an upcoming line of miniatures that they're going to make
Yes.
for this game, but he said there's been other miniatures. The one I'm thinking of is
HeroClix.
HeroClix, but also Crisis Protocol,
Oh
which is
yeah.
their skirmish game that they have out now. But
Oh yeah, you could totally use those.
they probably have more HeroClix characters. You'd have to track them down secondhand
Mm-hmm.
to get every kind of character. But then you could also kind of go on to like Hero Forge or someplace like that if you make your custom hero and
Oh yeah, yeah.
still
That's
build
cool.
the scale to those models. So
Okay, so you're gonna recreate your character. What can you tell us a little bit about that character, and then we'll see how.
so the original characters I remember him as he was a shield agent, but he was a mutant, and so he'd actually attended Xavier School as a kid, as a teenager, but then decided to not stay and become an X-Man. He joined Shield
Okay.
and
Yeah,
used his and I envisioned him kind of using his telekinetic powers to enhance his marksmanship.
oh, nice. Yeah. Okay.
And I remember we had to. We'll see if we have to do it here. I had to crib a couple of wind-based powers to kind of recreate a telekinetic ability to levitate or fly or move things because they didn't have they had power so you could create storm, but they didn't really have like Jean Grey or anybody like that to mimic telekinesis in the playtest.
Right. Well, I think I'm already thinking in my head, having read through there, that you have like in this game, you have different power sets, right? So much like in the playtest, and you'll probably take some from telekinetic if you want to do like storm like powers and elemental control. And then there's some that are focused on like, shooting and ranged,
Yeah.
ranged weapons type of powers, right? That you can
I
use. So I think
remember. I can't remember his code name had something to do with firearms, but I can't remember what it was.
sharpshooter. No.
No, it might have been Caliber.
Caliber. Oh, Caliber sounds cool. That definitely sounds like an X-Men name. They'll always
Yeah.
confuse him with Cable, or
Yeah.
Caliban. Are you Caliban?
Or he's not a member of Excalibur. He's just
Oh, right. That's cool. Calib. Maybe it was. Maybe that sounds cool. Okay, well, are we gonna keep that name Caliber then?
yeah, unless I think of something better. Let me put that on my character sheet here.
Okay. All right. In the next page, on page 44, after you kind of read this idea of a character concept, it gives you like a 5-step sort of outline for building a character, and that's determining rank, picking ability scores, picking your backstory elements, picking your powers, and then calculating other scores. So I think this kind of makes a segue into a talk about rank. So in the playtest, they had, like I said, 25 ranks, and here they've kind of crunched that down to 6 ranks, right? So, and that you can go on page 18 in the book if you're following along, and it's in I believe it's chapter 3, character profiles, and they talk about what the different ranks mean. So rank 1, so I'm going to tell you the ranks, and then I think of what might be a good rank for Caliber, but as we read through these ranks, we'll see what BJ's thinking. So rank 1 is a rookie. So I think of like a you're a normal person and you're just becoming a superhero. Rank 2 is like a protector. So like your street level hero, so like Daredevil or lower powered Luke Cage. Rank 3 is a champion. So you're a formidable superhero, protect a whole city. So they put like the examples they give are Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, or the Defenders, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, etc. Rank 4, you'd be like a legend. So more international superhero, protecting a nation. So Black Panther, Captain America, any of the Avengers or Fantastic Four. Rank 5 is mythic. So you're like one of the most powerful heroes on the planet. And they give like the elite members of the Avengers or Scarlet Witch, for example. And then rank 6 is cosmic. So you're like Captain Marvel, Silver Surfer, etc. Right? Professor X or Magneto, who are like the most powerful mutants, right? One of the most powerful mutants in the known verse. So like mythic, they put Guardians of the Galaxy as rank 5 as mythic, saviors of the galaxy, and legend is like most of the Avengers except for the elite members. So I think they do a pretty good job. So rank is more based on, sure, it like outlines what powers and how much you can have, but it's also like your kind of influence, your sphere of influence.
Right.
So what rank do you think Caliber is going to be? BJ, you there still?
Did I freeze up?
Yeah, you froze up.
Okay. I say let's go with the rank 2 other night. Otherwise, we'll be here all night picking powers.
Rank 2. Okay, a protector. So street level hero, protects the neighborhood, maybe fresh out of the Shield Academy as an agent. But like you had discussed a little bit ago, he was in Professor Xavier's school for the
Yeah.
gifted, right? So,
Yep.
okay. So now we have this on back to page 44. We're gonna do our ability scores. And as there's a nice little table there of the rank and ability scores and what your default ability cap would be. So you have 10 ability points to distribute between the 6 ability scores, and they another kitschy thing from the game to mirror the verse. The abilities they spell out marble. So it's melee, which is like melee defense, melee action like punching and throwing, agility, which is acrobatics, defense, agility defense, so dodging, and your character speed. Resilience is your like toughness, so resilience action checks, resilience defense, and your character's health. Very important. Vigilance is your actions, which for things like investigating crime scenes, vigilance defense against being surprised or ambushed, your focus, so your like mental health stat, and then your initiative modifier is also influenced by vigilance. Ego is intimidating psychic powers. Ego defense protects against those, and the use of magical and elemental powers is also based on ego. So logic is your powers of reason. So inventing gadgets, solving puzzles, using complex weapons. Logic defense helps against being confused or tricked or befuddled. So like working against illusions, and also the use of telepathic powers. So you got 10 points there, BJ, to work with.
Let's see here.
And BJ was able to download a form fillable character sheet from the Marvel website, but I think he's also using scratch paper, or maybe he's doing both.
Yeah,
So
let's see. If we go with just to start, 1 in melee, 4 in agility, 2 in resilience, 2 in vigilance. How many points do I have?
10.
10. Okay, I see what's going on here. I'm cheating. I'm looking at Bullseye in the chapter as kind of
Oh yeah. That's good. That's a good thing to do, is to look at a sample character who might have similar type of powers that you want to mimic.
Yeah,
which
I don't think
is a great way to go.
don't think he's as agile as Bullseye, but he's probably, because Bullseye's a 2-point character, but he might be a little more.
Yeah,
Did you
that's
say
cool.
ego was magic?
Yeah, ego is magic and elemental powers.
And but logic is
intimidation. Logic is like telepathic powers. So being
okay.
confused, befuddled, right?
Okay, well, he's a shield agent, so he should be a little smarter than the average bear.
Yeah.
Daredevil's only a rank 2. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're thinking of like Daredevil, kind of guarding Hell's Kitchen, as opposed to Daredevil helping with, half of Manhattan, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, like the Defenders. But like I think if I run something for a group and I use the Defenders, like I have a good story idea for the Defenders, and I'd probably bump them up to rank 3, right? So
Okay.
to make it'd be easier, game wise, it'd be easier to design a story and figure out the villains if they're all the same rank. So, and which they also
Yep.
have in the narrator's book, how how to balance an encounter, what their kind of idea of a balance is, like how many villains of a certain rank equal, should you have, things like that. So Matt Forbett goes into that in the narrator's chapter, which I think is really nice.
Okay. So I'm going to go with let's see, 1 melee, 2 agility, 2 resilience, 2 vigilance, 1 ego, 2 logic. I got 1 point left over. He's a shield agent, but he's mostly going to use a pistol. So I'm wondering if I should focus on 3 on agility or 3 on the vigilance. Because that vigilance, that's just kind of alertness, though, right? Logic would be more investigation, right?
Vigilance is like investigation, searching, and also a defense against being ambushed. and then your initiative modifier. And also it also is your character's like you know how health is like your physical stat.
Yes,
It's also
kind
your
of your
mental. Your
mental
focus is your
resilience.
mental resilience, right?
Okay, there we go. Then I got 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2.
1, 2, 2.
1 melee, 2 agility, 2 resilience, 3 vigilance, 1 ego, and 2 logic.
Yeah, another thing about vigilance, vigilance
Do
too.
you want me to,
Is it's
share this on the screen?
yeah, if you want to, you have your, you could, I should be able to share. I think I gave everyone permission, so you could share it on the screen.
Let's
This
see,
will, it
apps.
won't matter for the audio, but for the video, if we decide to do the arcane geomologist, arcane alien geomologist presents.
You can see that?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see that. It's great. Yeah, I can tell. Cool. That's really cool. It's a great idea. Yeah, let's keep that up and see if we can add to it. If it's easy to do. So right off the bat, we can determine some from the ability scores. We can determine some secondary stats. Right? Oh, the other thing about focus too is that some powers take focus, so it's really good that you have I think a high focus. So just some some powers and some talents use focus, so that's pretty good. Or talents powers, yeah. All right. So health is that's health is based off your resilience, and to calculate your health, you multiply your resilience by 30. So your resilience stat. So that's a plus 2. So you're going to have a 60 resilience. Whatever that is.
60 health, you mean?
Yep, 60 health. Sorry, and then your focus is the same formula, but using vigilance instead. So you have like a 90 focus.
Okay.
So cool. All right. So we don't know if you have. So there is a meta currency in this game called karma. Yeah. So if you're gonna have like a heroic tag, you will have karma, and exactly like you put in there, your amount of karma equals your rank. So
Okay.
right. So karma can help you regain health. I think it helps you to re-roll. So earning. So it helps you to you can re-roll a dice in your dice pool. Right?
It's like a luck. It's like a luck.
It's like a luck mechanic. Right?
Yeah.
Hence karma. All right. To see anything else, your initiative modifier is going to be your vigilance.
So +3.
Yeah. So +3. And this is all actually in chapter 3. Well, I'm getting all this from chapter 3, so I'm on page 20 if you're following along in your book. And then speed is going to be so your speed is 5 spaces, and this is like if you were to use a grid, but you multiply by 5, so it's like 25 feet. For every 5 full points of agility, you add 1. So your speed is just going to be 5 right now. Right, 5.
Okay.
So and climb and all those are like half, effectively, right? So, all right.
And
so,
you can get, if anybody's watching, these other spaces are where you can put like flying speed, gliding speed, swing lining speed.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Or what let's say if you like have like suction caps on your hands,
Yeah.
I guess that'd be climb, but you can figure that out.
It's like
Okay.
what is the stupid vigil, the frog? Is it leapfrog?
Yeah. Is it the frog? There's something.
He was in She-Hulk, the
Yeah.
She-Hulk TV series version of him.
Okay.
But he's also, there's a picture of him in the book actually.
Oh, is there? All right.
Yeah.
You don't know off the top of the hand. I don't know. Is he called the frog?
I think
Well,
he's
I know there's like, in that one Marvel universe, they're all like animals. That'd be a fun adventure too. I got that adventure in mind where they all go to that verse where they all change into like animals. Like you have
Thor frog. Oh no.
Yeah, I just roll randomly to see what animal you change into and then go from there. That'd be kind of fun to do as a one-shot adventure. So your damage is equal to your rank. It's expressed as a multiplier to the marble die result on your attack roll. So that's kind of cool. You don't have to calculate. You don't have to re-roll damage. It's on the further down.
Here we go.
Yep. So your damage is expressed right. Well, this could change right with powers and stuff like that. But right now, it's equal to your rank is the multiplier right now. So, well, that's equal to your rank, and it could change depending. And then you add your ability bonus to that too. So your damage would be times. So for example, for melee, it'd be ×2 and then plus 1, etc. all the way down.
Oh, your rank, not your. Oh, no
Right,
wonder I
for
got
damage.
the wrong number there. That's
No,
why
what is that?
I had the wrong number on my non-combat check. For
Oh, okay, okay.
okay,
Yeah, those can
one
change
there.
with talents or powers,
Yeah.
right? That's yeah. And then actually, yeah, we have 3. Yeah, vigilance is 3. Is there no, there's no vigilance attack yet, right? So okay. I believe that's right.
Uh-huh.
Yep. On top of this, the ability score is the one that's being used. Size is medium. You're not like a giant yet, so we'll see. All right, so then we go to I think we got the kind of the basics of your ability scores and the other sort of calculated stats,
Mm-hmm.
which means we might have gone already to building character number 5, but that's okay. We're just kind of working on the character sheet. I think it's a little
Yep.
easier to do. So now we just pick a backstory and those elements. So you said your
Okay.
origin. So we could go to there's a whole chapter on origins. In fact, actually, chapter 6 backstories, and it talks about traits and tags. The traits in this game are I was saying talents, but it's traits. Traits have a mechanical effect. Tags are just sort of descriptors. Could have a story, a narrative story effect, but don't have a mechanical effect. So I think you were talking about being a mutant, correct?
Yeah.
So there is a mutant origin. So the character's powers spring from them being a member of the subspecies Homo superior. They have the latent X gene that grants them powers often triggered at adolescence. So you get some tags from this. You get Hounded, Krakoan, and the X gene.
And I already had the heroic tag, right?
Yes, you're decided, and you would get the heroic tag also.
Okay.
Because you're deciding that you're going to be a hero and not like an anti-hero or a villain.
Yep.
So, all right. And then occupations, you said you're going to be an agent.
Mm-hmm.
So see if there's military spy. There's also assassin, by the way.
Oh wow.
So assassins would be like Arcade, Bullseye, Electro, the Punisher. Although, yeah, you don't have to take the tags that they give you, but assassins kind of right. It's a little.
Yep. So I'd say
spy
law enforcer.
Oh, law enforcement. Yeah. Cool. All right. So law enforcement. Yeah, you work with Shield, Agent of Shield. Perfect. So the tags are authority and backup are some tags that you gain. And then you get the traits interrogation and investigation. We can look up what those do because those will give a mechanical benefit.
Tags, authority, and backup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you're your Shield agent. You have some law enforcement authority. I like that. And then you could go into the book has a description of all these things, right? And what they do. And I think the authority one, for example, you have legal authority of some kind. It can be selected multiple times if appropriate. Right? So, which is pretty interesting. So we had interrogation and investigation, correct?
Yep.
So interrogation, the character knows how to ask the right questions in the right way. So you have an edge on ego or logic checks made when asking people questions.
Is that okay? I'm looking at tags, not.
Yeah,
There we
it's
go.
on traits. It's traits now.
Yeah, and then investigation. The character is an expert investigator. They have an edge on vigilance checks to spot clues,
Oh,
and
that's
on
really
logic
good.
checks related to interpreting clues. If
You
they
know,
have access to forensics lab at the time, they gain a second edge. So edges and troubles are kind of the version of advantage and disadvantage.
Yes,
But in
go
this
ahead.
game, you can have multiple edges. So what do they allow you to do? They cause you to re-roll a dice. If you have an edge, you can re-roll whichever dice you want.
Right, and a
If you have
trouble
a
is the other one, right?
trouble, you have to roll your highest result, re-roll it.
Right.
But you can have multiple edges and troubles. They cancel each other out if you
Right.
got both going on. But so you could stack up a bunch of re-rolls on a single depending on how many.
Yeah, well, it's like a net. It's like it ends up being like a net effect too. I
Yeah.
think I think in the play test, you just have to keep re-rolling dice. But I think here they just said it's a net effect. So if you have two edges and one trouble, then it kind of gets reduced to one edge, right?
Yeah.
Or if you have
Yeah.
three troubles and an edge,
And
then
you
you
don't
have
you
two
don't have to
troubles.
use it if you were to roll like 3 sixes or
Right.
six
Or a
one
marble
six.
or six one
Yeah, you
six,
just
right?
say no, I don't want to re-roll anything. I'm fine keeping that.
Right. Oh, I think they also what they did. I remember you had to roll 616, right, to get a critical or something. But in
Yeah.
this case,
Yeah.
now a critical is just getting a one on the marble dice, and that's actually pretty powerful. So, like, I know for combat, just to let people know, so that doubles your damage, right? So you
Yeah.
calculate your damage from the marble dice too, right? So that
And
six
then it's
times
called a, isn't that called, it's called a, there's a lot of allusions to
fantastic,
the
yeah,
words they use.
fantastic,
It's the fantastic success when you
right,
roll a
right,
one on the Marvel. And if you roll 616, it's an ultimate fantastic success.
right,
Stan Lee is somewhere smiling at the number of adjectives.
right. That's really cool. Okay, so I think that's it, right? So now we can you think of any other backstory elements that you might have?
I think on teams, I should put shield.
Okay. Yeah, you know I think what's kind of cool. I can see like kind of the things you do in the Agents of Shield series that you could do. This could be a good solo character because they got some investigation skills and
I didn't
hopefully
even
they get
think
the right.
about they have Phil Coulson in here. I should have
Yeah, I
used him
know
as a
Coulson.
basis.
Yeah, Coulson is in there, right? So, but he's like rank 1, I think, or no, he is rank 2, right? He is rank 2.
Let me see.
So,
Agent Phil Coulson, rank 2. Yep. Hey,
yeah. So,
it's almost.
well,
What
there
did
you
I
go.
do different from him? I did.
Well, you're gonna have like superpowers, which Coulson does not have.
He has better melee, and he has a better ego, and I have his no. Yeah, it's the same. We're close. Yeah,
Pretty
cool.
close. That's cool.
Yeah. Unless you're Coulson from the end of Agents of Shield, and then you're
All right. So,
spoiler alert.
yes, I think. Oh, yeah. So I think we have powers now, right? So,
Yep.
So powers are on page 67 in the book. So 67 powers.
You got
And
a nice picture of the X-Men there.
Oh, I know. Which is one
And
of
not the real X-Men, the 90s X-Men.
Oh, yeah. Is that 90s X-Men?
Yeah, that's Jubilee with her
Jubilee. Okay.
pre-vampire Jubilee and Jean Grey in her blue and yellow suit.
Storm, Iceman,
all the pockets. They all have pockets. The Jim Lee pockets.
Yeah. Lots of pockets.
What is Cyclops keeping all those pockets?
I don't know.
Like with Cable, you assume it's like ammunition and military gear, but Cyclops, it's like,
are those like pockets on the side of Jean Grey's leg there too?
I don't know if they were ever intended to be pockets, if they were just like
extra armor,
like extra armor or like padding, because the most likely place you're going to get hit in a fight is right on the side of the thigh.
Yeah, sure.
Jim Lee flourish. That's so 90s. There's just little extra flourishes that.
Yeah. All right. So pointless. It looks like, based on your character concept, it looks like you're going to have multiple origins. But if you do focus on multiple power sets, so there are sets that are in powers, and there's also basic power sets. As you're rank 2, you're going to have 8 powers.
8 powers. All right.
All right. So, and you were thinking about taking from, like, there's a set of special training. Oh, the special training is but you have some superpowers. So special training is what you would do if you were a non-super and were just like like Natasha Romanoff or and just take martial arts or Hawkeye, I guess, martial arts, melee, range, shield bearer, or tactics. But there's various power sets, and I think
does it special training count as a power?
No. There's like there's special training has those 5 power sets that you can only take from those. So
okay.
So like you would want ranged or melee weapons, right? Or take a power from ranged or melee weapons.
Okay, I see.
And then and you have 8 powers, right? Like I said. And then you have elemental control, and they even have like the different types of control that you can have, right? Everything from air to water, etc. Right? So and then then there's so tactics could be one. It's interesting. Telekinesis is another power set that you talked about.
Yeah.
martial arts or melee weapons as well. So yeah, so I guess we will probably pause here and let BJ look at those, and then come back and see what he picks. That sound like a good plan?
Yep. Do you see that picture on the next page?
Picture
I
on the next
noticed
page
it.
of
Is that Sean? No, that's
that's Scarlet
Shang-Chi.
Witch.
Is he fighting Death Strike? No, on page 70.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
This supposed to
Yeah.
be Lady Deathstrike.
Yeah, maybe. That's cool. That's a nice
That's a
picture.
Ron Lim. I really like Ron Lim's art.
Yeah, it's a Ron Lim picture. Again, the art is pretty fantastic. Okay, we're gonna pause and then we'll be right back. Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. We took a pause, and how do you think it went, BJ?
I think it went really well. I think a pretty cool character. I mean, he was a cool character the first time I made him, but I think he's even better now.
Oh, nice. That's a
With
good
this.
testament
Yeah.
to the changes. So
Yeah.
we took advantage. There's an appendix in the back of the book, starting on page 106 of the power trees to kind of help BJ inform the creation of his character. So yeah, so take us through the process, BJ. Oh, I guess we're going to talk about one other change that we discovered while we were doing this. So you wanted to speak
Yeah,
to that?
they in the original play test, they had you, in addition to a rank, they had a character archetype, I believe it was. Let me find it in the playtest here real quick on page 35 of the playtest. Archetype. Listed in more detail. I know that some of the polymath. So the archetypes were, it was kind of like a class. Blaster, which would be Cyclops, Dazzler, Havoc, but also Hawkeye, and Bullseye. Pretty much anybody using ranged attacks. Bruiser, so the Hulk, Juggernaut, Genius, which was Doctor Doom, Mr. Fantastic, Polymath, which are characters that have kind of a wide range of things. Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man. I felt like this was where it really broke down. When 2/3 of the heroes are polymaths, it
Right.
tells me that's not a good system because that's not a distinct
Yeah, I think what they
archetype.
Yeah, I think what they did is kind of roll that into Origins, and you have all these traits now that can define.
Anyway, the other two were Protector, for example, Professor X, Doctor Strange, Invisible Woman, and Striker, which would be like Iron Fist, Daredevil, Wolverine. Actually, yeah, which I didn't understand why Laura Kinney as Wolverine is a Striker, and Logan is a. Did they list him as a Bruiser? I don't think they listed him anywhere in these examples.
Yeah.
Anyway, he'd be more of a polymath though, because he's more than just a fighter. You know, he's like a spy and a assassin and
so they got rid of those, which I thought is a probably like
and I think this works much better as your characters are defined by their powers and abilities. It's a classless game.
Yes.
Which I'm coming to appreciate more and more the more types of classless games I play. Classless is in there are no classes, not as classless as in tacky.
Right.
All right.
So let's take us through your decisions and what you picked, what powers you picked.
All right. So this guy's name is Danny Stockton, codename Caliber, because I couldn't think of anything more creative.
So does he have a? Do you feel like he has a secret identity? Then
I don't think he does. He may not advertise the fact that he's a mutant. He might try to be really subtle about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has a. Well, I mean, as a Shield agent, he'd have a lot of Shield agents have a code name. I mean, it's usually Agent.
Yeah.
Like it's a number, like Agent 13, Agent 10.
Yeah.
But then some of them that have powers have code names like Mockingbird. Well, should have a power.
Right.
But some of them that actually are more like superhero.
Right.
Hawkeye, Mockingbird,
Black Widow.
Yeah. So he's a super agent. 6'4", 175 male, nothing real outstanding there.
Yeah, all that stuff you can choose, or I guess you could find a random table somewhere on the internet. And
so his team affiliation is Shield. His origin is mutant. His occupation is law enforcement. He
Oh,
graduated
where do we want to
from
base him? Where do you want to base him?
the helicarrier.
Oh, do you want to do, or do you want to put him like in a particular, since he's rank 2, do you want to put him in a particular city? Do we want to talk about the 50 state initiative and maybe he's, what is that?
I was going to put the Triskelion. That's the land base for Shield in New York.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. I know my
Anyway.
home group, they wanted to do like a Texas, Texas Heroes. So,
All right, well, so let's put him there. We'll put him in the DFW,
okay.
halfway between you and me.
Is that halfway? I think it's closer to you, but that's
Probably
fine.
so. Yeah. College Station, maybe that's
No, that's no. That's for
closer to you.
Yeah.
all
DFW Shield
right.
Office is good. I know enough about Dallas to be able to run adventures there.
Okay.
Investigate the sudden disappearance of Dallas Cowboys. Anyway.
Who cares? I saw a funny. This is completely unrelated to what we're doing,
Yeah.
so I don't know how many people. But it was a meme on Facebook that says, the Dallas Cowboys announced they're joining the Big 12.
Oh, that's good.
Somebody said they'll still be last in the.
We weep for the Pac-12. Not really. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So
right.
There is law enforcement.
Okay. So his traits are interrogation, and investigation, which means he gets let's say boons. What do we say
Edges.
they're called?
They're called
edges. They're called edges. If he's engaging in those kind of activities, and he's got some tags, heroic, because he's a mutant. He's hunted, which means there are going to be people who aren't going to like him because he's a mutant. Krakoan, which means if he dies, he gets resurrected on the island of Krakoa. He has the X gene, and then as a shield agent, he has or as law enforcement as a shield agent, he has authority, some legal authority, and he can call for backup.
Nice.
And those are more narrative things for just, I guess, the narrator to decide exactly how they play out.
Oh no, I could totally see working with local law enforcement, and the fun role playing opportunities that one would have by working with local law enforcement, whether it's federal, state, or even county, city. I think that could be pretty fun to do.
So we talked a little bit about my abilities earlier when we were kind of sketching this out. So with all the health and speed, I just realized because he's a mutant, I didn't realize that this is kind of what I was doing, but I think I've kind of created Bishop. If he was a shield agent, I was thinking he was more like John Wick with kind of the gun fu.
Yeah.
Bishop channels his bioenergy through a gun.
Oh yeah, but it could be a little different.
Yeah. Maybe Bishop was who he looked up to as a student.
Oh, potentially, yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so he's got, but you can see here we've upped my agility, combat, non-combat check, and down here we've upped my modifier for logic damage, and we'll explain with that with the powers.
Right, and for agility damage.
And for agility damage, right? We'll explain that here in the powers. So,
yep.
His mutant powers, he's telekinetic. So base power telekinetic.
We should talk about power sets first.
Right.
So then like the powers are divided into various power sets in the basic power set. And like I said, we took advantage of the appendix, which has a bunch of talent trees for all the different powers.
Yeah, and if you've played, I think if you've played like Fantasy Flight, Star Wars, I'm trying to think of other games where there are power trees where you pick. Yeah. So it's a feat tree from class, like 3-5.
Sure.
You have to have one before you can get the other.
Right. There's prerequisites and all that, and there are also like limitations based on rank. Which I think is good. So you can choose from multiple powers to meet your concept. If you choose from like one particular power set and the base and only the basic set and the one particular power set, then you can get extra powers. That's a little thing in there, but BJ decided to pull from different power sets. So that's just kind of a little thing about power sets. So for the example they give in the book is that Spider-Man taken from one power set gets extra powers, right? So.
Oh, I missed that. I might have picked. No, I wanted to have a diverse.
Yeah, you want to have. Here. I mean, I think you want to take from range like you did.
Yeah.
And from.
Okay.
So anyway.
So basic telekinetic manipulation is one of the entry level powers in telekinesis. Levitation was the other one, which I thought about taking, but I dropped that because I found some other stuff I wanted instead. So we have telekinetic manipulation. Is a doesn't have a rank, but you have to get it to get these rank 2 powers that I took. So I can manipulate objects within 20 spaces or 100 feet, basically. It's 20 spaces in game mechanics, but if you're doing theater of the mind, it's 100 feet. And that is just kind of a standard action, and it requires concentration.
Right. Yeah, these are based the distances and the he's going to talk about here are based on your rank. So it's like 5 spaces times your rank, or
yeah. So which I think that tracks well. The more powerful
10
you are,
spaces times your rank, right? The more
the better
bigger
given power is. It just grows based on your rank rather than you having to amp it up power by power. It's like every power associated with your power set grows if you go up in rank.
Yeah, we'll talk. I think we'll speak to rank after we do this because
okay.
It's good.
So then I have a telekinetic attack, which is you make a logic based attack versus the opponent's melee defense within 50 feet. And again, that's a standard action that requires concentration. And then if you were to roll success, then you use your logic based damage.
Yep.
Then the telekinetic grab, it's the same thing, logic attack versus melee defense within 50 feet. But here you're just grabbing a person and they can try to resist it with their melee or is it their agility? And they may resist it with their agility. Well, I guess the melee attack is if you pin them, they then would have to use one of their skills to break free.
They use like a melee or something or agility to kind of score them out, something like that. So I think I was going to add something here to this. Oh, right. So all these attacks and this grab, what I think is neat is that they kind of also tell you what would happen on a fantastic success. So if you get a fantastic success, it's like double damage for the attack, or in the telekinetic grab, you pin them and as well as grab them, right? So stuff like that. So I think it's pretty neat how they kind of tell you, what's going to happen if you get like a 1 on that marble dice. So they really didn't, in the play test they had the ultimate fantastic success, but I didn't see anything in here referencing that. So I think that would probably potentially be like a house roll or something.
It's in there.
Okay.
The first jet. It's if you roll 616.
If you roll 616, so it's like quadruple damage or something.
Something like that.
I don't know. Okay, well, or maybe anyway, up to the referee to decide. The narrator, I think it's what's called in this game. All right, go ahead. Sorry, you're on barrier.
It's okay. Telekinetic barrier is a 4 space, which would be 20 feet. It can make it up to 20 feet in size within 100 feet range. And it functions as a logic defense, and it will absorb up to 10 damage. So it's 10 damage reduction. If it takes more than 10 damage from one blow, then it will dissipate. But up under 10 or fewer damage, it's like a telekinetic shield. Also, when you interpose it, you can use it against, like when you decide where it's going to go. It can also be used to shove or move a person,
right,
and kind of that's occupying the space where you erect it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So those are my.
I did find the ultimate success. You are correct. So it is. They automatically succeed and ignore trouble. That's okay. The big bonus for that, which is kind of cool. But of course, if the narrator says it's something impossible, like Hulk, punching the earth and moving it, then it's not going to happen.
Right. So those are my telekinetic powers: manipulation, attack, grab, and barrier. And
you would say that your character developed these under the tutelage of Professor X or whomever at the
telekinetic
school.
Jean Grey or somebody. Yeah.
Okay.
And then he's got some powers I chose more for ranged attacks as a gunman.
And these are basic. Basic, as you can see there.
This is a basic attack, basic thing. It's accuracy 1, +1 agility damage multiplier, which is why some things changed over here in my abilities. and +1 to non-combat agility checks. So just more accurate, I guess, both with ranged weapons, but also with just trying to use agility to do things. You're a little more agile and focused and precise and everything. So that would probably mean things like what we think of in other games would be like sleight of hand or, tumbling or something like that.
Or trying to throw that rock to knock the keys off.
Yeah.
The stand where you can get to them, and
Yeah.
although of
And
course he has
I've
telekinesis. So, but anyway,
yeah. But maybe something outside the range of my telekinesis, like
yep,
toss.
nice.
Iconic, but the big thing is that also will affect when I use a gun
Yeah, like a regular gun
or the ranged weapon, right? So he's also a marksman. I'm going to skip this one iconic weapon and come back to it. So snap shooting is the ability to make 2 ranged attacks instead of 1 with a ranged weapon or a ranged attack. And then suppressive fire, which is snap shooting, is sort of the entry level one, and then suppressive fire is a rank 2 power that you have to have snap shooting to get. And with suppressive fire, you make an attack versus the person's vigilance, and so you're not damaging their bodies, you're damaging their focus. So you've kind of scared them, intimidated them, pinned them down where they can't move and they can't focus or concentrate because they're just trying to avoid getting hit. So it's not like traditional damage, but it is doing mental damage, and is kind of also, I guess, it's kind of an offensive and defensive at the same time. And then what we came up with this iconic weapon, which is another basic power, which Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, Black Widow's stingers, are all Daredevil's billy club would all be iconic weapons. The ghost gun, and well, I can't remember how we did this when I made this character the first time with the playtest, but the idea was he wasn't firing real bullets; it was telekinetic projectiles, and the gun was just giving him a way to kind of focus and aim them. So what this ghost gun does is you can treat telekinetic attacks as bullets. So when I make a telekinetic attack, I can use snap shooting and suppressive fire because they're functioning as bullets. And then it does a +1 logic damage multiplier when I do that, because you can't stack. There was something in the rules about it. It can't, whatever you get from this can't stack with what I'm getting from accuracy. So this will basically let me use this in place of accuracy when I'm doing damage with a telekinetic bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
like I said, you could also grab a gun.
Yeah,
and have a better, still
you use my accuracy as right. An alternate for. And so I was thinking again, I kind of envisioned him as sort of this John Wick character who, instead of mixing kung fu or Muay Thai the way he does with the guns, is just more he's using telekinesis to push people away, pull people back in range, knock them out of the way so he can get a clear line of shot at what he actually wants to shoot at. But because they're telekinetic bullets, I guess I just realized, like I said just now, that that's kind of like Bishop. Bishop is more of an energy projection, but it's the same. He's channeling it through a gun. So I think he's a pretty cool character. If this character shows up in a Marvel movie or comic without my permission, someone tell me, because I want my royalties.
That's funny. Yeah. So see, we decided he was going to be rank 2. So I think we need to speak to this idea of ranks and how to advance your character, because there really is no like set way to do experience in this game. So maybe they'll come up with something a little later, or maybe a fan will come up with a way to do experience. But the idea that they have is that, you can move up in rank, and as you progress in your career as a superhero, you should move up in rank. You'll have, adventures that have a bigger influence. So what I would be thinking is, while you're starting off in this little DFW area, and this adventures were to progress, that eventually you'll be more on a state or national level, affecting a bigger sphere of influence, and then you'd move up to rank 3. So in a way, it'd be more like of a milestone, and probably something major, something like the end of a major story arc that would then propel, Danny Stockton, aka Caliber, into like the national spotlight or something like that, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of how the idea of how the ranking would work, right? And then if you got picked up, by aliens, and then had to work with the Guardians of the Galaxy and have star spanning adventures, and he'd move up to another rank, etc. Right? So
And this would be a cool concept of like, when they introduce new characters, if you think about it, if you read a comic series long enough, a new writer will come in and they'll introduce their own supporting cast, including sometimes a low level superhero or a sidekick that eventually, if that proves popular and they have good ideas for him, that person eventually, like the Falcon eventually becoming Captain America, in the absence of Steve Rogers, to sort of narratively get kind of a subtle power boost as they get more experience and more
right,
exposure of. So it's kind of like experience, but to me, it kind of fits the way comic books introduce new characters, and or teenage characters, like not to speak of the distinguished competition, as Marvel calls it, but like Robin. Every Robin eventually becomes a young man, and he gets
Nightwing,
faster
yeah.
and stronger, and some people now would argue that Dick Grayson was probably a better Batman than Bruce Wayne,
Oh,
depending on who writes him.
oh
Now
no.
that he's fully grown.
Yeah, well, an example is like Kitty Pryde and her development over the years,
Yeah.
Jubilee, which we mentioned earlier, growing up, things like
Night
that.
Threat. I think got Night Thrasher, or even Spider-Man. Really, think about if you're going to do
Right.
Spider-Man as a teenager, he's got all that potential, but he's still just patrolling the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then the threats get bigger, and he rises to the challenge, and he becomes
Right.
powerful.
More powerful. Right. Exactly.
Um,
So cool. Well, I'm glad you're happy with Caliber here, and any last comments that you might want to say? I would like to take Caliber for a spin and try to think of
yeah,
some sort of adventure. And
yeah.
if this
Maybe we could think of it
podcast
if
is
we're going to get
popular,
if we're going to get callers, maybe take suggestions for other names
sure. Yeah, I mean, we could
for
have
that character.
suggestions for other names, or maybe some cool ideas of adventures for
Yeah.
Danny Stockton here.
I think we
So
want to come up with some sort of backstory for the ghost gun too. It can't just be
yeah,
something that
sure.
Beast or somebody whipped up for him at school. It's got to be something he. So we've got him stationed in Texas. Maybe he's from our part of the country. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
legendary. Maybe it belonged to a legendary
Oh
lawman.
yeah,
It's
maybe it
got some
belongs
kind
to
of magic.
like Bass Reeves or something, or
Yeah, that'd be a good one for. Yeah. So.
yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Okay.
All
I
right.
was just thinking about Bass Reeves, so or another gunslinger from the old
Frank
West
Eaton.
type of era. Yeah,
Frank Eaton. Yeah, some of those U.S. Marshals that patrolled the territory.
yeah, that's cool.
All right. So.
All right, or Walker Texas Ranger. I don't know, something like that. All right,
Yep.
cool. Well, thanks so much, BJ. Any last thoughts? How do you think what do you think of character creation? I mean, we did take a pause and we were kind of looking to figure out the powers and what they did.
I don't think this took any longer than making a Pathfinder character.
Yeah, the big decisions are really, I think the origin decision, the backstory is pretty quick, but the big decisions, of course, are the powers and how your powers are going to fit into your character concept. I think that's the biggest the biggest bottle, not, I don't know if it's bottleneck is the right word. That's the biggest time sink into creating the character.
Yeah, but I feel like the power trees and the way they describe them, it kind of makes it easy to kind of go, that works, that doesn't, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I would compare it to a D&D character. Probably takes longer than a D&D character if you're not playing a spellcaster, but if you're playing a spellcaster and having to pick your spells, it's probably comparable to that when you're making a first or second level character.
Sure.
So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, BJ. BJ is the host and creator, producer of the Arcane Alienist podcast, which you can hear on many sort of podcast things. Blasted into various podcasts. What are they called? Catchers?
Podcatchers?
Yeah, podcatchers. So go take a look at that. I am Carl Rodriguez of the Geomologist Presents. So thank you so much, BJ. And let's get to rolling some 3 dice, right? It's 3d6. So,
all right.
So you've heard that. So one last thing. So you probably heard that expression, 3 chords and the truth, right?
Yeah.
Right. With regards to country music or writing rock and roll songs. But maybe that's part of the fun thing about RPGs. It's all some sort of 3d6.
3 dice and the truth.
Yeah, 3 dice and the truth. So all right, thank you so much. And
If
we'll talk
if we ever make a new podcast, that should be the title of it.
Three Dice and the
Three
Truth.
Dice and a Truth.
Uh-oh. Okay. Good one. Maybe this will be the inaugural. No, I don't know. Next time.
Yeah.
All right. So Three Dice and the Truth. Maybe the continuing tales of Danny Stockton, Caliber, Shield Agent will be on that podcast. So thanks so much again, BJ, and I will talk to you
I
soon.
think the proper sign off is probably Excelsior.
Good one.